Imagine you, Warriors fan, waking up once again to trade rumors and that feeling of déjà vu, promise of revolution, but the team continues to be stuck in the same mistake while Curry's peak is gone. Now comes the bomb. Kuminga, the great hope of the future, could become a piece in a gigantic exchange for Domantas Sabonis. Is it worth sacrificing tomorrow to try to save today? In this video, I will show you, without illusion, what this possible change really means for the franchise, for the game system, and for the dream of another title. If you're tired of empty rumors and really want to understand if this is the solution that can change the fate of the Warriors, stay with me until the end. Before we get into the details of this possible exchange and everything it could change in the Warriors' future, here's what you need to do. Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and activate the bell, because here we tell the truth that many people don't have the courage to say about this franchise. This really helps the content reach more fans like you, who really care about the team. And look, don't leave the video. In the next few minutes, I will show you real scenarios of this exchange, the direct impact on Curry, the locker room, the game system, and whether this bomb is the path to a title or an announced disaster. So get strong and come with me until the end, because every detail I'm going to show you can completely change the way you see this negotiation. If you follow the Golden State Warriors closely, you may have felt the same thing as me, the impression that this team is one big move away from truly fighting back there. When the main nucleus is on the court at the same time, basketball flows, the attack comes to life, the defense organizes itself better, and, suddenly, everything reminds us of that team that dominated the league for years. The numbers confirm this, but honestly, we don't even need advanced statistics to see it. Just watch a few games in a row to see how the team changes when the main pieces are together. The problem is that they can't be there all the time. Age, wear and tear, calendar, minor injuries, minute limitations, it all takes its toll. And when this trio is not complete, casting flaws appear with force. The rotation becomes short, the attack loses impact, the defense suffers, and, against the big teams in the West, this takes a huge toll. That's where the uncomfortable feeling comes in. If the Warriors really want to compete with the best in the conference, maybe it's not enough to hope that things fall into place. Perhaps a bold move in the market is needed, and it is precisely at this point that Jonathan Kuminga's name appears more strongly than ever. For a long time, talking about exchanges involving Kuminga seemed almost taboo. He represents youth, explosiveness, physical potential, that tomorrow that sustains hope for a smoother post-Curry transition. However, at the same time, the contract renewal, the context of the team, and the moment of the franchise itself always left a question in the air that, sooner or later, would need to be faced head-on. To what extent are the Warriors willing to wait for this future to arrive? It is no coincidence that an NBA executive, anonymously, classified Kuminga as one of the best bargaining chips in the entire league. We are talking about a young athletic player, with flashes of impact on both sides of the court, under contract, with an all-star potential label if he is developed correctly. In behind-the-scenes parlance, this is gold. And it is exactly this type of asset that franchises in different stages of construction look for when they agree to trade their veterans. If you look at the mood in San Francisco, you'll notice that a lot of people are already working with the idea that Kuminga won't be around for long. It's not just a loose rumor. Sectors of the local media have already compared the situation to that of other athletes from major franchises who are heading towards an inevitable separation. When someone goes so far as to say that it's easier to imagine another controversial player staying on the city's football roster than Kuminga remaining with the Warriors past a certain date, that says a lot about the internal perception of the situation. There is also the bureaucratic and physical issue. Due to contractual rules, the Warriors can only move him in exchange after a certain date, and to make matters worse, the player is dealing with a knee tendonitis problem that raises doubts among potential interested parties. It's contradictory. He's an extremely valuable piece on paper, but his current condition raises questions about how much other franchises would be willing to pay for him now. Still, some teams seem to see beyond that. One of them is the Sacramento Kings. Sacramento has been following Kuminga for a long time. From the beginning, there has been a declared interest in his profile. At the same time, there are signs that the Kings are willing to reevaluate part of the squad, especially some veterans, listening to offers for practically everyone, with rare exceptions, such as recently renewed young names or highly valued recent draft picks. In other words, it is a team that can be a trade partner as long as the right package appears. Warriors and Kings, in fact, have already talked about Kuminga. At one point, Sacramento even put something on the table involving Malik Monk, a young complementary player and a very protected first-round pick. Nothing to really excite. The feeling was that even with all the questions about the future, the Warriors would not give up their main bargaining chip for such a timid return, and therefore the conversations cooled down in that format. Now, however, speculation has taken on another level. Instead of focusing on secondary players, the name that emerges as a target is another, Domantas Sabonis. The hypothetical scenario circulating is something like this. Golden State could put together a strong package around Kuminga, adding Moses Moody, Buddy Hield, and to adjust salaries someone like Trayce Jackson-Davis, in exchange for Sabonis and Keon Ellis. It's not just a squad adjustment. It's a profound remodeling of the way we play. Sabonis would arrive to play a leading role in the paint, while Ellis could replace part of what Moody delivers in the rotation with similar characteristics of energy, perimeter defense, and shooting. Of course, there is initial concern. Sabonis is coming off a meniscus problem, and any time the word knee appears next to a center, alarm bells go off. The recovery forecast, however, is not long-term. If he is healthy when the trade windows open, and if the rhythm of the game resumes, the opinion of many is that he will return to producing at the standard we already know. And what does it mean in practice to include Sabonis in this squad? We are talking about one of the best rebounders in the league, a center who averages 12-13 rebounds per night, who accumulates games with 20 points and 20 rebounds, and who, at the same time, is an above-average passer for his position. He can score from the low post, has a very competent intermediate game, and has shown at different moments in his career that he can threaten from the outside, even if he is not a three-point specialist. In a system like Golden State's, with spacing, constant movement, and reading of the game, it is easy to imagine Sabonis distributing strong blocks, receiving the ball on the short roll, and finding free shooters on the perimeter. On the other side, of course, comes the most repeated criticism: defense. Sabonis isn't known for being an elite defender at the rim, much less for having absurd mobility on the perimeter. With a history of knee injuries, this suspicion increases. The question that arises is inevitable. Can you win at a high level with a center who is not a traditional rim protector and who can be exploited in defensive exchanges? The answer may lie less in Sabonis's individual figure and more in the context that surrounds him. Alongside a player like Draymond Green, with extremely high defensive reading and the ability to cover spaces that few can, Sabonis's impact can be rebalanced. He may never become a great defender, but if he can maintain positioning, communication, and fulfill specific roles within a well-designed scheme, there is room to compensate for his defensive limitations with everything he offers in attack. It's not very different in concept from what happens with other creative pivots in the league, who are not monsters in defense, but raise the team's level through intelligence and offensive weight. Now look at the other side of the package. Buddy Hield, in theory, should be an important pitcher in the rotation. In practice, they are experiencing a season in which almost everything seems to go wrong. Bad decisions with the ball, turnovers, defensive failures, and poor performance in key moments. He's the type of player who, when he's going bad, compromises more than he helps. Trayce Jackson-Davis is an interesting project, a big who delivers some energy plays and finishes, but who has not yet shown himself to be a reliable center at a high level. Profiles similar to his are not that rare in the league and can be found via draft or low-cost contracts. The case of Moses Moody is a little more sensitive. He's had a solid season with good attitude, decent shooting, and defensive effort. Many fans are attached to this evolution. However, when we put Keon Ellis into the equation, the idea of a mirror exchange emerges. Two players with a similar profile, capable of defending multiple positions and contributing offensively without monopolizing the ball. If the Warriors truly believe that Ellis can assume this role with similar efficiency, Moody will no longer be untouchable and become part of a more aggressive package. In short, the core of the operation would essentially be to transform Jonathan Kuminga in Domantas Sabonis, using Hield, TJD, and Moody only as value adjustment and fitting. This is where I want to talk to you directly. It is worth it? On the one hand, we have the emotional and symbolic weight of exchanging a young man who carries the image of heir of this era, someone who many fans see as a piece for the next 10 years. On the other hand, we have a ready-made player with an immediate impact who can raise the team's ceiling now, while there is still time to build something big around Steph and the veteran core. It's the old discussion between future and present, between potential and reality. Those who defend Kuminga's permanence usually argue that it would be a classic mistake to give up on him before knowing how far he can go. Those who defend the exchange remember that the window to compete for a title with Steph as the protagonist is not eternal, and that young talents are valued precisely for that, to be used in exchanges that bring established stars. And the conversation doesn't stop with Sabonis. There is the possibility of involving a third team, such as the Los Angeles Clippers, who have shown interest in names like DeMar DeRozan. In a scenario like this, contracts and players could circulate between 3 franchises, making it easier to assemble the ideal package for each side. The Warriors would maintain the basis of the idea, transforming Kuminga into a more ready-made piece for now, while the Clippers and Kings would adjust their rosters within their own goals. Beyond Sacramento, the league-wide rumor mill is buzzing. The Mavs, Hornets, Grizzlies, and other teams are dealing with their own crises and adjustments. Every move on one side affects the market on the other. It is in this context that other alternative proposals for the Warriors emerge, such as those suggested by independent creators and analysts on the networks. Among them, scenarios appear that involve, for example, sending Kuminga to another team in exchange for a package with Trey Murphy, Ivica Zubac, and Nicolas Batum, with draft picks and complementary young players moving between the Pelicans, Clippers, and Kings. These are ideas that, even hypothetical, help to measure one important thing: the value that the market still sees in Kuminga and how much the Warriors themselves may overestimate some of their young players, as if they were all untouchable potential all-stars. When we look at these tables with a little coldness, it becomes clear that there is a distance between the way the fans and part of the board see certain players and what the rest of the NBA is willing to deliver in return. This mismatch is dangerous. Holding too much could mean missing the timing of a good deal. Parting ways too soon could mean watching talent explode elsewhere. In the end, it all comes back to the same point. What is the Golden State Warriors' real priority right now? If the answer is to rebuild calmly, accept a few years without protagonism, and prepare the ground for a new nucleus, with Kuminga at the center of this project, perhaps the way forward is to resist the temptation of a bombastic exchange now. But if the answer is to try to squeeze as much as possible from what remains of the high level of the Curry, Draymond, and company era, then moves like bringing in Sabonis take on another weight. They stop looking like despair and start to be read as aggressive bet to try to win again. The fact is that the franchise is at a crossroads, and that's why discussing these scenarios calmly and in depth makes sense. It's not just about trading player for player. It's about identity, direction, and courage to assume the consequences of any decision. If you were in the Warriors' decision-making chair today, what would you do? Would Jonathan Kuminga turn into Domantas Sabonis, accepting the defensive risk in exchange for an immediate offensive impact and a potentially lethal fit with the team's attacking system? Or would you hold on to Kuminga, betting that he can still explode to the point of becoming the next big star the Warriors are looking for? This is the dilemma that hangs over the franchise. And, until a decision is actually made, these blockbuster trade rumors will not go away. On the contrary, they will get higher and higher, because the feeling that this team is one big change away from something bigger shouldn't go away anytime soon. And that's why this talk about Jonathan Kuminga and Domantas Sabonis is not just another rumor. We are talking about a decision that could turn the page in the recent history of the Golden State Warriors, whether towards a new peak or a collapse that many people are not yet ready to face. Standing still is also a choice, and perhaps the most dangerous of all, because time waits for no one, not even a dynasty. Either the Warriors make a brave decision now, or they risk seeing the title window close silently. If you want to follow every step of this soap opera, understand the behind-the-scenes, the exchange scenarios, the impact on Curry, on the dressing room Rio, and in the future of the franchise, the next move is yours. Don't stop here. Go straight to the Golden State Warriors News Today playlist, which will be in the pinned comment. There I delve even deeper into these possibilities, break down other trade packages, and analyze how each rumor can change the team's fate. When you finish this video, scroll down to the pinned comment, click on the Golden State Warriors News Today playlist, and binge the episodes. If you are one of those who cannot accept being uninformed while the future of the franchise is decided in the shadows, this playlist is for you.